So here's the first challenge for the MV Agusta Turismo Veloce. Customers don't buy MVs to go for a 1,000-mile ride on a solid, dependable bike with anonymous looks. If you want an affordable workhorse, look for a nice, second-hand V-Strom 1000. The twin sister of MV's sporting heritage is that the Varese-built bikes are motorcycle art on wheels, so much so that this is MV's tagline. What does this mean in practice? When I first rode one of the very early 750 F4s in production, I almost crashed it. Too much throttle? Trail braking into a damp corner? No, quite simply because the expletive deleted thing trapped my hand underneath the handlebar while doing 5 miles per hour in a parking lot, and I came within an eyelash of T-boning a large van. I later mentioned this to Claudio Castiglione, the legendary savior of MV, and he smiled. Yes, Frank, of course you are right, but doesn't the F4 look perfectly beautiful with the handlebars where they are? And, of course, the answer has to be in the affirmative. However, having a touring bike which doesn't work is a waste of metal, no matter how beautiful it is. While you can smile, well, as long as you don't end up dead under the front wheels of a van, at the idiosyncrasies of a hyper-sport bike, the tourer just has to do its job effortlessly and effectively. No ifs, buts or maybes. The thing has to work. MV faced a third issue, or two twin sisters to be precise. If you want a thoroughly practical, go anywhere, do anything, StoneX reliable adventure tourer, then you can own the utterly lovely Triumph Tiger 800 for around $12,000. Another $7,000 on top of this will buy the testosterone-laden BMW R1200 GS in premium package trim, or you could save a couple grand from the GS and go down the touring route in sublime luxury with a Yamaha FJR 1300. Finally, and the elephant really is in MV's bathroom with this one, Yamaha will sell the thoroughly excellent 3-cylinder FJ09 to you for a mere $10,490. Now, wait for the roll of drums to fade away. A Turismo Veloce is going to relieve you of a shade under $16,000, whilst the all-singing all-dancing Lusso Deluxe in English is just $2 shy of $19K. And that's an awfully big hit on your bank account. For this sort of money, customers will want not only a supremely effective touring motorcycle but one which captures all the magic of MV, a bike you want to caress last thing at night, before you go to bed, and then dream about in the restless, pre-dawn hours. In every way, the heart of the Turismo Veloce TV is its engine. It's a familiar power plant, being found in the Stradale, Brutal and MV sport bikes, and it really is a peach of a thing. The latest version of the 798cc, 3-cylinder motor remains radically over square with a 70mm bore, 54.3mm stroke and 12.2:1 compression ratio. There are also new pistons, a change of gearbox ratios and a hydraulic chain tensioner for the TV. In the olden days a power plant like this would have been a real screamer, fit only for the racetrack, but with the aid of MV's VIX motor and vehicle integrated control system, 90% of the torque is available between 3,500 and 10,500 RPM. This hardly makes the triple an electric scooter, but it is practical for a real-world tourer. The maximum torque of 61.2 pounds-foot arrives at 8,000 RPM and the peak power of 110 horsepower coming 2,000 revs later. As an aside, this is 15% more torque than the TV's Brutal and rival stablemates. Out on the road the results are impressive, almost to a ludicrous degree. As a test, I put the TV into 6th gear climbing a steepish hill and it pulled away from 30 miles per hour as if it had a magnet in front. Now clearly no one would ever ride the bike like this normally, but it does show how flexible the motor is. Replicating real riding, the motor was happiest between 5,000 and 9,000 RPM. In this fat part of the power and torque band it was truly effortless, silky smooth with plenty of revs to spare both above and below the 4,000 RPM range in which I used the engine. I rode up into the mountains behind Marbella with the TV in third and fourth gear minus 50 miles per hour to 75 miles per hour, in the company of Brian Gillen, MV Agusta's technical director, and later he described our ride as brisk and yet effortless. This is what a motor gives the rider, a sublimely relaxed and yet deeply involving ride. Normally, I am not a fan of high-tech electronics, with 58 zillion options, but in the case of the TV they do start to make some sort of practical sense. The 5 main parameters are throttle sensitivity, torque, engine braking, engine response and rev limiter. Ridden all day, in what could be varying conditions, there is an argument for being able to dial up a gentler bike in the dew-damp dawn and a sparkier one in the dry, warm midday. It is also possible to design your own maps and have these saved as custom settings. For example, as a motorcycle racer I hate any throttle delay. When I move the throttle drum I want instant response. So, on a snotty, leaf-strewn autumn day I could reduce the TV's power and torque, but still have immediate throttle response to everything which I had allowed the engine to provide. Truly, smart engineering. Against this is my Darwinian view of riding, which says that if you can't feel what the bike is doing, and don't understand that the throttle works both ways, then you really should be riding a Chinese 125 with sissy bars and tassels hanging from the end of the handlebars. But I have been riding for 5,000 years now, so I am hardly a rich, young 30-something, which is MV's key market. Interestingly, for me at least, the sport option is not the one I would choose if I owned a TV. In this mode, there is too much harshness in the power delivery to be fun, and I don't know if it is much, if any, quicker than the touring program. There is still a quick, intimate relation with the throttle response in touring mode, but there is also a creamy, electric motor smoothness which really does inculcate a king of the road sense. Bow before me, ye lesser mortals, because I am riding an MV Turismo Veloce, and therefore I am truly your superior. Or something along those lines. One part of the electronics package I really do love is the QUICKSHIFTER. I have said that I am hardly first in the line for rider aids, but MV's QUICKSHIFTER and auto blipper really is a thing of wonder. It is impossible to make the system not work, no matter how deliberately cack-handed or abusive the gear changes. There is, however, one way to make the system fail, and that's by not switching it on. There is such a vast amount of information on the dashboard that my quill and ink, medieval brain just didn't find the right option for the auto shift. This allows me to report with confidence that the gearbox works just fine with a traditional clutch, which is feather light and effortless to use. Naturally, there are 8 levels of traction control. Who wouldn't need 8 levels of traction control to go for a ride on a Sunday? Thankfully, the system can be switched off altogether if you wish. Disregarding the fact that I am still coming to terms with such newfangled ideas as flushing toilets and electric lights, the colored dash is incredibly packed with information, even if it were being read by a 10-year-old PlayStation master. The smart move would be to have the equivalent of a computer's visual desktop, displaying all the options available, and there are an immense amount, and then a choice of screens so that the rider could choose the most appropriate one.